Party people in the house, what's going on? Is Jason, aka Daddy's Fast Cash, and I'm bringing you today live, direct from the studio, the the video studio, the internet studio, whatever kind of studio you want to call this. Another dad entrepreneur, and this is a guy I want I have the deepest respect for, and you'll hear a story why. But for now, you get to watch this, and then I'll bring my man Roman in. So check this out. Be right back.
Fatherhood. It's how we keep our tribes and families strong. You've landed in the right place if you're ready for dad jokes, tips, and tricks on fun parenting. Also with interviews with some of the coolest dad entrepreneurs we could track down and have them share their strategies to tackling it all in business and life on The Dad Next Door. And now, your host, Mr. Dad Jokes himself, Jason Centeno.
Say hi, Nana.
You ain't shy.
They don't show you it in action because things like this.
Oh, fix it. Fix it.
I love Daddy. He's a superhero. I don't know what a hero. I know.
Bang. Love that beginning. I will love it every day till I die. Because that I didn't make that video, but it inspires me every time, gets me I've had for the show. So welcome, Roman. How do you say your last name? Because I probably messed it up 100 times saying it in my head.
Prokopchuk.
Prokopchuk. Does it mean anything?
Not a literal meaning, but I mean it's from Eastern Europe, so it's more of a NHL last name.
Not like a curse word or anything cool.
No.
Like Prokopchuk, you.
No, unfortunately not.
Should look into that. There might be something there. So Roman, let's get right into it, man. How did you? So your story, you shared about it. So we're both dad entrepreneurs, obviously, and we met on Clubhouse at one of the dad rooms, and you told me about your journey with entrepreneurship, some of it, but just the 25 children that have gone through your house and how big your heart is, and that really kind of stunned me. So before we get into the children part of it, how did you become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm a first-generation immigrant from Ukraine. Came over to the U.S. in 1990. Ukraine was still in the Soviet Union with 6 other family members to a 2-bedroom apartment. Went to school here. I learned the language. Obviously, it was easy because I was younger, so I learned the language and not had an accent. And I thought I was going to go into criminal justice. And last semester of senior year in Rutgers University, where I went, I interned with the Secret Service on the counterfeit currency squad, held a top secret federal clearance, thought I was going to go that route. And then basically when I graduated, the recession hit. So state, local, federal agencies froze hiring. So I was looking for a job for months and months, kind of got down and depressed. Only thing really kind of kept me sane was going to the gym and kind of like dealing with that. That was like my place. And then I met someone and they said, come out to my car. I want to give you something. Maybe, it'll help. Obviously that conversation could have went a lot of ways. And I said, why not? And I went out and they opened their trunk and handed me a packet about search engine optimization. This was 2008, 2009, and basically said, read this, go online and read up for, a few weeks, and then you can start doing that for my business. So I kind of saw I had nothing to lose and kind of jumped into it, and then got a lot of opportunities at a lot of agencies, managed teams at this point, with my business, and other agencies have worked on over 600 accounts, clients ranging different verticals. I've worked with a bunch of Fortune 500 clients. In 2012, decided to, found my own agency, which obviously was interesting, and have kind of been running and living in the world of digital marketing ever since.
Would you say, so agency, meaning everything marketing online, and pretty much everything that has to do with that, running Facebook ads and probably YouTube ads and Google ads and optimizing websites and funnels and all that glorious puzzle that we all have to deal with. Are you like in a specific niche that you kind of like cornered, or is it kind of just a little bit of everything?
So in terms of kind of discipline, I learned search engine optimization, which obviously is great because it's still applicable and relevant. But in 2009, I saw the ecosystem of the internet changing. So social media was in its infancy. Other things were coming up in terms of how you're able to reach your target audience online. And I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. So I started learning and implementing, organic social, paid search, and really like running the gambit. So the foundation is search engine optimization, but it's branched out to, all inclusive. I first really started in a law. So I have had a lot of small, medium, large size law firms, but I've had a lot of experience in other agencies too that were like specific, let's say, to pharma and life sciences. So working with like Purdue Pharma, Boehringer Ingelheim, Bristol Myers Squibb, companies like that on large, accounts where, a specific drug we're marketing either direct to consumer or to the healthcare professional, where it's, a couple $100 million, sometimes a couple billion in earnings for that specific drug. And obviously there's limitations there because it's a controlled industry. Companies like KPMG worked with people like celebrity chef Robert Irvine launching some fitness products. So a lot of stuff, a lot of industries, and, taking something from each industry and making it work in other industries as well.
You'd hate me for this one, but so have you ever been the author of one of these Cialis or Viagra sort of emails that come in and that they willy-nilly go everywhere? Is that you, Roman? Don't lie to me now.
I have not. Mainly, I've marketed over-the-counter products. Some black label, meaning they need a prescription and have a warning of possible severe injury or death. Obviously, there's warning labels on over-the-counter stuff, but some of the regulated things that need a prescription as well.
Yeah, I imagine that's kind of difficult. They're definitely not romantic in their marketing. You can't get too creative with them. I mean, how much more creative can you get then? Side effects includes vomiting, sneezing, farting, and you're like the guy's on a horse and he's swimming and all that, and it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, there's other limitations too. So each piece of content, each ad, each social media post has to go for every pharmaceutical and life sciences company through a legal, medical, and regulatory board. So they have to basically, you submit it through this platform, and there's a monthly review where they review, all the companies and agencies and, internal assets that they work with. And for something like, even I've had where the post was like a social media post, it was like happy Veterans Day, and apparently like it's not like remembering the veterans. So there was a veteran on the actual like review board, so they said, I don't like this verbiage, and if you don't like one thing, they send the whole project back for you to make the change and then resubmit it through this really tenuous process, and the system itself is very clunky to submit it. You have to have like a representative on the side of that company and all this. You have to have like a serial tracking number. And it's just like a very long process often to get a very quick yes or no.
And you yourself have to deal with all that as the agency, or is there somebody that's doing that? I don't know, that handshake between creative and legal and all them, because I can't imagine that I wouldn't want to pull my hair out by like the end of the day with some of that stuff. I mean, just reading contracts in real estate alone is mind numbing. I can imagine what it's like when you're dealing with medical stuff and just like getting caught up over one word. That sounds horrendous.
I've done it personally. There's been people assigned to it when I've held other roles, like account director roles. I would have to go to that pharma or life science company actual office and sit in and defend it if there was a lot of issues where the people weren't understanding where that creative or that strategy was coming from. So sometimes you physically would have to go on site to, sometimes the US headquarters to sit in on this meeting, just so like it wouldn't be sent back and you can work it out on site. And you would have this like brand champion type person that would like advocate on your behalf too. It's actually kind of like a courtroom, which is funny not that funny, because it's a lot of work where they like, if you're not there, they can explain what you mean and things of that nature.
So you said you were immigrants. Did entrepreneurship run in your family? Like, I mean, fathers, uncles, grandfather. Like, was that just something that in your blood, or are you kind of the first guy?
Well, my dad, when he came here, he opened up like a dry cleaning and like a shoe repair shop. Then he started a construction company, so he was doing that. My grandfather was already retired in Ukraine before we came over. And then obviously, there's bills and things of that nature. So he was like, in his 50s, mid 50s when we came over, and he literally went to do roofing. And for another 20 years, he would do roofing. And roofing is not an easy job, especially in New Jersey in hot summers and, with falls that are cold as well. Obviously, winter, usually you don't do roofing, but people that were coming over to, make a few bucks from Eastern Europe, some guys in like their 20s and said, nah, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. And he did it for 20 years. So.
So before I go deep into the serious subject of family, I'm going to shake this bad boy up a little bit with these. I like to ask 5 kind of out of nowhere questions. So bear with me. It kind of like gets your juices flowing, but I like them because they start some interesting conversations. So you ready for these 5 rapid fire questions? And
yep.
No particular order. Okay. If you could paint anything, what would you paint?
If I can paint anything, what would I paint? Just like a naturescape. I actually took intro to art as an elective first semester of college, and I was a horrible like painter drawer. And actually, like putting in some work, I drew some half decent stuff, like farmscapes and different nature stuff. But I haven't done it since then. So I think doing that would actually be like relaxing and therapeutic.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
What celebrity annoys you the most?
What celebrity annoys me the most? That's a good one. I literally stopped watching TV. Honestly, I don't even know, because I have so much stuff on my plate that anything I watch isn't even like actor, actress.
It's like cartoons.
Celebrity. That's a good one. I don't even know. I don't think anybody bothers me that much to a point right now. I have like so much stuff going on that it's just like, I don't know, kind of trivial.
I mean, that's a valid point. What's the most interesting thing you have in your wallet?
Like a fraternal order of police, like a gold card, like a family card that gets me out of some binds. I think that's I wouldn't say get out of jail free card, but it's gotten me out of state for different like speech, like in North Carolina, they like try to get you. So one town to another, it goes from like 40 to 25, and they like sit on that border. So it's gotten me out of state and in-state stuff.
Yeah, the locals are one thing and the stadies are another, and the stadies don't care about them cards a lot of times. Yeah, as a firefighter, I used to enjoy the benefits of the sticker and that, but you still get them guys out there that could give a crap about any of that. So but it's still better than nothing. I get you on that. So what's the meanest thing you've ever said to anybody?
I mean, probably like, I hope you die or something like that. I mean, it's pretty harsh.
Did you say it in another language or in English? Because, that makes a difference too.
I said it in English, but I think if I said it in like Ukrainian, it would be more aggressive. So
yeah, it probably sound more like, yeah, definitely scary. If you could get a yacht, what would you call it? Or maybe you have one.
I do not. I don't know. SS Minnow. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, because it's like, if it's this huge thing and you're talking about this little fish, it's just irony.
Would you be the skipper or Gilligan on that particular boat?
I would say skipper.
More skipper. Got it. I like that was an interesting show. Probably half the people watching this don't like, what the hell what are you guys talking about?
That was on when I came to America. Gilligans Island. What is that? The show with Fonzie, Happy Days and stuff like that. Yeah, Wonder Years. All that was on.
Yeah. So, what does your daily routine look like for everything you do?
I mean, I wake up, and then I have to get all the kids ready. Currently, we have, we had 4 up until 2 days ago, but we have 3 foster kids. I have to get them to daycare, which luckily is only about 5 minutes away. So in case something happens, And then when I get back, if there's anything I need to help out around the house, with my wife or anything, or with the current baby we have, that's 6 months old, then I have to take my two dogs out. Then I make a cup of coffee. Then I take like 5 minutes for myself to like get grounded a little bit, just some quiet time, or just like listen to something inspirational like song, read a quote, something that kind of keeps me going for the day. And I think then open up and, check my emails. I think I have one, two, three, four. I have like 6 email accounts at this point. So I got to check those, or they get funneled into one, and then make a checklist for the day. I think that's important. So I wouldn't go past like 10 things you have to do. Obviously, if you have a project management system for your business, that's, those kind of things, but maybe you have stuff that falls out of it, outside of the scope of that. So having about 10 things doesn't go too crazy, but when you jot those 10 things down, you can itemize them by like order of importance. So then that helps you if you can delegate some of those things on that list out, or what you truly need to actually focus on for the day. So I find that super helpful. And usually my day doesn't end till like 2 a.m. when I have like quiet time to, test things, do some strategy, and other things. But yeah, it's usually a long day.
You have a team then? I mean, you're not doing this by yourself. You got the VAs or just other people in other places doing things for you?
Yeah, remotely, but I mean, in terms of myself, more so being tactical planning, strategy, and kind of seeing, pieces being moved and reviewing and approving things kind of before they go out and things of that nature as well.
So inside of that busy schedule, you got, and you mentioned it, but I guess I want you to talk about really, if you have at any given time 2 to 4, 5. What's the most foster children you had under your roof at the same time?
6.
6. And about how long did that last, roughly?
A few days. Then that dropped down to like 3 or 4.
Okay, so it was like an emergency kind of placement.
Yeah, the most we've had was 5 for like a few weeks. Usually it's 2 or 3 in terms of long term, and sometimes, like you said, in between that, it's called respite care. Sometimes other foster parents need help or have a health emergency, or they can't find a home, and they're looking to approve a family member or guardian to get the children that were removed, and they need a few days. So we kind of help out in that capacity as well.
So you guys do that too? You open your home to, like, say if the parents like need to like go on a trip or something, and the kids are not allowed to go out of state or anything like that, you're there for that, 48, 2 days to 4 days kind of period.
Yeah, it's called respite care. Like you help other foster families, but that doesn't quite work out all the time. We had a respite that was supposed to be 10 days. It turned into 8 months. So there's that.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you used the terminology, because I kind of like to educate people all the flavors that there is of this whole system with foster to adopt, adoption, respite care, resource parents, all kinds of things you can be in between. And it really just depends on your capacity to take care of people and, the room in your house. And like, if you're already there and you're like good with it, then yeah, I don't know how big your house is, but if you're taking care of that many, you got to have at least 4 or 5 bedrooms going on and some space, because otherwise you're going crazy. I mean, I know. So that's kind of why I asked you what your kind of your routine is to fit all that in. So going from your busy schedule to an occasional madhouse, but normally a lot of traffic going on, what does your best dad life look like with these wards that you now have?
I mean, I think the best thing that, like, right off the bat that my wife and I did, and I would recommend to anybody, becoming a new foster parent or has been struggling if they have one child or multiple children, is get them on a schedule or a routine, because that gives them normalcy in terms of things that they haven't had in their life, probably. Things like, they may have not had a bedtime. They were going to bed maybe, all times in the morning. They didn't know when their next meal was. They were medically neglected, so missing shots, not going to the doctor, maybe surgeries they needed that they never gotten, have seen abuse, have been abused. So it's one of those things where, like, getting a child, figuring out obviously sometimes you get spotty information, so stuff isn't really shared with, foster parents. So you have to kind of be a therapist, psychologist, counselor all at once and figure that out quick. What triggers the children, what soothes the children, how you can be the best kind of resource or help for them. And then once you know that, you can basically kind of develop their schedule. And you have to treat each child differently because each child's coming from a different situation.
Indeed, it's always an experiment. And like I tell people, when we move, it's like moving an army. I mean, it's not quick. Like you say, oh, this time, and it's like this machine. It's like the military. The bigger the operation, it's just like the more moving parts, the longer it takes to go. And there's a lot of yelling and moving, and just drill sergeant, and for it's a system. You developed your own, but like you said, it's difficult, especially when there's like the ones that have been there longer and then the new ones, and like the who's used to what and how they're getting along. And then there's the dynamic of who's older. And even though there's somebody that was younger, what might have been there longer, so they boss around somebody older that was probably not there as long because they established their territory. And there's just all this kind of weird, not usual sort of situations you kind of got to adapt to and identify quickly, or things could get very chaotic, let's just say. So what's one question that you are tired of people asking you?
I would say, like, how do you do it, or things like that. Or I can never do it. Like, how do you do it? Because that's something, I look back, because we became licensed May 31st of 2018. First day right after June 1st, 2 children dropped off. It was like, figure it out. So at first, if you asked me 3 years ago, would you see yourself being a foster parent down the line? I'd say probably not. And then if you mention the number, in 2.5 years, if 25 kids have been through your home, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. So I think it's one of those things where people say, it's definitely not hard. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a lot of issues with the system, moving parts, kids maybe getting reunified when they're not supposed to, just a lot. But I feel like it's one of those things in personal life or business. You have to kind of jump in the fire sometimes to really, see growth.
Yeah. Okay. So on the alternate side of that coin, I get that how do you do it? Because it's kind of like, you just, like Nike, you just do it. Like, there's no preparation for this. You don't know. You just say yes. And then whatever comes, and you deal with it then, because fearing something that can never happen, or, dreading something, like it's never as bad as you think it is. And yeah, it's hard to explain, but yeah, like it is one of those questions. Like, anybody could do this if you put your heart to it, I guess you could say. What's one question that you wish people would ask you, but they never seem to do?
How do you deal with, I guess, the process? So like, it's hard because each child that leaves your home, you care about them, regardless if they were in your home for a day or a year. Some children, obviously, if they're there longer, you may develop, stronger bonds. But all the kids that are here, you worry about them. You want to see them safe, happy, kind of on the right path. So like, how do you feel after each child is, leaves, or how do you kind of deal or cope with it? And I don't have a good answer, because I feel like, you're going to have that pain regardless, and you keep doing it over and over again. So it's like more like, a self limiting, or like a self wounding thing. It's coming, but you do it anyway.
Yeah. We had a couple of, I was talking about it today, actually, with somebody else, a couple of almosts. And I always say, like, if I have to be the boogeyman, or the threat that makes a family get their shit together, for want of a better word, then I'm good with that. Even if, like, I'm sad that we missed out on having those children, because at the end of the day, that's the right thing to do. Get them with their family, because God knows I would never want that to happen to me, and no matter what the circumstance. And I'd want to know that they were with family if they could be, but or at least with taking care of the best they can. But the unknown of people you don't know is always kind of crazy, and I can imagine what people would be going through their heads. I mean, I'm on both sides of it. and it's very hard to explain. But yeah, I mean, that's real stuff right there. So, what would you say as a dad? What's your dad's superpower?
I would say just kind of being present, honestly, because we've had some respites that have been the oldest child we've had is about 12 years. So he was with us for a week because one of the resource parents was having surgery, but they were older. So, a 12-year-old wants to like hang out, play video games and go throw the ball around. So I feel like a lot of the time it's just being present, and I can do that. Some things you think are more difficult in terms of like, I guess what kids appreciate, but simply like walk by their room or they're watching TV, sit down for 5-10 minutes. And a lot of the times they'll like appreciate that for the for the whole day. So I think having the self-awareness to just, I guess, put in undevoted time for each child the way he needs it.
And you're able to, well, you obviously are intentional and you put work down to go do that, and that's just I guess constant exercising that time to be present. I don't know if you got a reminder on your phone or something, especially depending on how many kids you got, but it's definitely difficult, and especially sometimes the boys want to go do boy stuff and the girls want to do girl stuff, and it's like you can't do both at the same time because one person or the other is going to be complaining, so you got to break it up. And you take them and you take the girls, I'll take the boys, and then or vice versa. You take the boys, I'll take the girls. But yeah, that teamwork is definitely necessary in that. And then yeah, I can't say that I'm always present. I have made way more conscious efforts, like I would say in the past year, just because I've noticed that about me. And also when they see you doing the stuff like being in your phone too much or just kind of curving them, putting them off, they start to do it. And it's such a slap in the face when it gets, when you get to see what you're being like to them and you're just unaware of it. And then suddenly you're aware, like, oh crap, that's how I'm being. So yeah, that's definitely a big one. Just trying to improve it. If you're not that, it all starts with that. And with the with the older one or with the ones that are just in the house, are they like surprised by that? Like they're not used to it because they come from a place where maybe they weren't getting paid attention to at all, and you feel like maybe they appreciate it more than say someone who's been there longer.
Maybe. I mean, like you said, girl boy dynamic. So out of the 25 children we've had, 21 were boys and 4 were girls. So, yeah, it's just kind of being out of the environment because like that child's like biological situation, they had a lot of siblings, so I don't know if they had one-on-one time. And like here, it was just one of those things where one of us will like go hang out with them. Like it took them to GameStop, bought them a few video games. Like every night, it would sit and play video games. Bought them a football, throw it around. So I think it's a lot of like one-on-one time that they may have not been used to. And I feel like, well, when it was time to ready to go, he was bawling because he wanted to stay. So, I mean, I think that one-on-one time is important. I think, every child kind of yearns for it.
And you let them beat you at basketball?
No, absolutely not. My wife would think otherwise, but I'm one of those dudes like you have to earn it. So I'll beat you until basically you're old enough and skillful enough at that to kind of like, pass the torch and beat me in that game. Until then, I don't care if you're 2 years old. I'm gonna reject it and do the Matumbo, finger figure wave.
Oh man, it just made me laugh because I was trying to teach the kids tic-tac-toe. Oh, you go to a restaurant, everybody wants to play tic-tac-toe, and I mean, I spank them. I'm like, life is rough. You gotta learn how to play the game. Every once in a while, I'll throw them a bone, but like, it's like, nah, man, you gotta learn this thing because we live in an age where everybody's just giving anything for participating, and I'm like, you're just gonna be average or suboptimal at everything in your life. When you can beat me, then you've achieved something, right? So I don't know, but yeah, I think that's the dad thing though, that we kind of were like, nah, you got to earn it, son or daughter. Just, suck it up.
Yeah, like the participation trophies I've gotten, because I would get like the trophy, what I earned, whatever, like MVP or whatever, and then everybody on the team will get that participation trophy. So it's like one of those things where it's cool because you're in a sport, but I guess like in life, if you're told in this incubator of either high school or college or growing up, like you're amazing, but you don't have the skill set or awareness to back it up. You don't have self-awareness what your strengths are, and maybe you're like 5'2" and you think you're going to be like an MVP in the NBA, which if you have the vertical and the shot, like you have Earl Boykin and uh, different other players that actually did it. But if it's that unrealistic where it's like literally you can't do it and people are telling you you're going to be the best player ever, that's not necessarily setting somebody up for success.
Yeah, you're not one of those guys getting participation trophies anyway. You're spanking people left and right. So people are going to see that hard work, and they're going to like, yeah, they're going to facilitate that versus like, like it's never going to serve you well getting handed something, because you're just going to, now what, you have something, you have this in your hands and like you're in charge of something, and like unless you have that drive to win something or be the best at something, what's the point of working hard or being number one if everybody around you gets the same thing as you? It's like, now you're just ruining everybody's desire to achieve, right? Like there is satisfaction from that, it doesn't have to be a pride moment. I mean, you can still be humble about it, but like self pride and self accomplishment, and just knowing that you can do something better than anybody else. If you go out there into the world and you just don't know what you're good at because nobody ever celebrated something you did, and if really lined out why am I so good? Well, the point system. You scored more points than anybody. Okay, good. Well, why am I so good? You ran faster than anybody. You got a trophy, got number one. This measure of things. Not everybody's going to be great at everything, but we're all great at something. And how are you ever going to learn your gifts if you can't even determine your weaknesses from your gifts, because everybody's just getting the same thing? And now we got a mishmash, half-assed world of non-achievers, and Lord knows what's going to happen from that. But it's up to guys like us to kind of keep that flame burning in some of these kids. So now, I mean, I can imagine, or other people out there probably can imagine, sometimes these kids are going to be coming to your house and with a hot mess. They're going to be, bad attitudes, cussing, all this kind of stuff. So when you get angry, because that's going to happen with these children, how do you handle that? What do you do to, other than knowing that the consequences of touching a child, because that's the thing, is there's punishment within the foster care system is definitely like handling a bomb. Like you gotta, there's a way more steps on trying to handle a bad situation, because you're there to make the situation better. Yet here you are with this hot mess of feelings, emotions, words, sometimes physical. Like what do you do to get yourself right so that you can handle that the right way or the best way you can?
Yeah, and so people know, like in terms of a foster parent, there's only certain ways you can discipline a child anyway. So there's no spanking or things of that nature. So you have to use, rewards, or taking things away in terms of like a toy or something, or having them in timeout. So figuring out why are they doing that action? Is it malicious? Are they lashing out? Is it a direct result of them being removed, where they just want to like sabotage a good thing and just kind of like have you say, I can't handle it, and then being shipped off to the next home because subconsciously they don't feel like, that they deserve love, or situations like that. So really figuring out why they're doing an action. And then in that moment, seeing if they understand it, because a lot of the children we've had are like 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. So sometimes it's a little harder for a 2 and 3-year-old to comprehend what something is bad or why they did it. So really, like in that moment, having them understand, well, now you have to sit there for 5 minutes, and this is why you can't play with that toy, because you can't act like that. You can't just throw something or hit somebody in the head or do this, that, or the other. So I think it's really situational. But like if I get angry about it, like just thinking like that they're not necessarily being malicious. I mean, sometimes they want to get under your skin. And the way my house is laid out, like I have like a section of the house. So I have an office, and then I have like a den, which is kind of like a man cave. So I'll like seclude myself and hang out with my dogs a little bit for a few minutes, and then, emerge a little calmer.
So you have your own fortress of solitude there in the house. I mean, that's see, we all need that. Now, and I just asked that too because you coming from Eastern Europe, I come from a Latino family. Listen, old school, the belt, the book, the shoe,
Chancleta.
yeah, la chancleta, la correa, and all this sorts of stuff. And I personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with some of it, just because sometimes that's what's needed to just kind of drive a point home. But I'm not. I know there's better ways. I would say that with myself. Rarely the pow pows come, but they come. I'm not gonna lie. And I know that when we were in the foster system, that was definitely something that you couldn't use, and we had to get creative with how we did that, and especially one special needs and just trying to understand all that kind of stuff around that, and why is this person being like this. But I'm just curious, how did you get to that point? Was this a so your self-development, like you go, you learn the meaning of things, you learn mindset and all these other things which help, patience, and then there's your faith, if you have that, and you go to and you say, am I being right, am I being the best person I could be, and patience and kindness and love. And then there's technology and training, like when they train you to be a foster parent, there's like, here's the rules, and then there's the fear of breaking the rules. So with you, what would you say, because you come across as a very even keel, patient person, and that could just be because you're on a show right now. I don't know, man. You could be American Psycho, but when you go to your den of solitude there and beat the walls up. But I don't know. But I'm just kidding. But you seem very even keel. Which of those things you think prepared you for this the most? It could have been the Secret Service training and just dealing with chaos and that kind of stuff. I'm just curious of which one you think gave you the most help along these lines.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty low key, but I think there's actually like a 80s Patrick Swayze movie, Roadhouse, and then like when he trains the people, like, be nice. If they like hit you in the face, be nice. Ask them to leave. Be nice, and then until when it's time to not be nice, then you do what you have to do. So like I'm like super chill until like you push me to a point where it's like, I guess when keeping it real goes wrong on the Chappelle Show, basically, if you ever watched the Chappelle Show. Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, like it's like where that anger kind of stems from, or like I've come to terms with certain things. So like my childhood, seeing domestic abuse, my dad was abusive to my mom and stuff like that. And I had to kind of come to terms growing up with it so it wouldn't eat me inside, and, him not being there in situations. So I think it's like you can be angry or upset, but that level of anger or, being upset has to match the situation. When it's like super not, aligned with, what you're angry about, I think that's when it becomes a problem.
I like that Patrick Swayze analogy. I think that is probably got to be one of the top answers, and what men aspire to be overall, like, cool and calm until you got to kick someone in the face, and then you just not a kid of course, but handle business. So we talked about mindset really quickly. Like, are you in any masterminds or anything like that?
I am not. I mean, I'm not opposed to masterminds, but since I got on Clubhouse, I feel like that's been a escalation, or like a networking opportunity, where like a knowledge dump, and depending on what the room is. Obviously, we met in a room, and some rooms are better than others in terms of the vibe and the authenticity, but the people, or like the tribe that I met there, I think it's hyper escalated certain things that I wanted to do, because I found a lot of like-minded people, especially in the last year and a half, with somewhat being isolated around the world because of the whole pandemic. It was nice to find like-minded people, and it's just like, all right, we have the same goals. Let's go. Like, let's motivate each other. I'm on there every day. So if I see someone in a room, or, they DM me, or we've taken conversation onto Zoom, or, a phone call, like, I think it's just finding a tribe that kind of keeps you motivated, in whatever you want to do, because if you surround, even if it's in a different industry, if like everyone's hungry and you don't have people that are like lazy or just saying they're going to do stuff, but it's like 5 years later and they're still at point A, you're more likely to do what you want to do with what your goals are as well.
I will say, Clubhouse is definitely is a fire hose of information, but what's cool is that you can direct the stream really quickly. Like I got hooked on some of the NFT rooms now, starting to learn about that kind of stuff, and I was just like, wow. And I know that because it's so new, there's probably nobody who could really advise you much on it unless they've done them, and like this is like the next best thing. But for me, the value of masterminds has always been when you want to get direct questions quickly and concisely for your specific set of problems, then they excel. And sometimes in Clubhouse, you got to be there 2-3 hours, and you might get some gems, but then you're dealing with everybody else's hot mess and inclusivity and this, that, the other thing. And I'm just like, man, I got to go. So yeah, it's one of these. You got to balance it out and figure out what you're really there for. But I feel you on that. So talk to me. Let's talk about you made this offer for people who might be interested. If they have a website, talk to me about, like, if somebody was to contact you for this offer, this visibility audit, what would that entail?
Just kind of running your site through a few things and diagnosing if there's any major issues, either with the content, with your backlink profile, with how your site is made, and identifying certain things in terms of your brand that may be toxic out there, certain things about you or who you are or your company that you may want to clean up. But just kind of like, I'm like on Clubhouse, like I want to add as much value as possible. So mainly helping people avoid bad situations and like snake oil salesmen, because somebody may not be able to work with me, but I can point them in the right direction in terms of what to look out for so they don't get scammed in the future. Because I feel like digital marketing is one of those things that I feel like when I come across people that have done it and they're like, oh yeah, I spent $10,000 and the person took it and he did these things, that, this, and the other. And I was like, well, you could have got that done for like $250. That's like absurd. And like, I got no value out of it and so on. And it sucks because like, that's your first experience in digital marketing. So you try to like be an advocate for at least, being as honest as possible.
So what would be like some quickie things? What are like maybe like the top 3 things when you do one of these audits that like people always have this problem? It's very common, and just like you're like, duh, and you can fix it real quick, but they're just like unaware because they don't know technology or whatever.
Well, I mean, sometimes duplicate content, a lot of people that don't necessarily have an online presence or don't know anything about even their website. I mean, some people don't have analytics on their site. So like showing them how to set up Google Analytics and Search Console and things of that nature and what to look out for in terms of kind of like quick on-site optimization tips in terms of optimizing your meta title, your description, your headings, best practices for internal linking, just kind of quick wins for on-site to maybe give your site a boost depending on the health of the site overall.
Gotcha. So in short, it's probably worth a look to get your, let them check under the hood. So you guys, if you're watching this, you can take advantage. You can see on the screen how to get with them. It's Nova Razor Digital, Nova Zora
Digital.
I am sorry I beat that.
Literal translation, it means new star in Ukrainian. Obviously, it's not written because Ukrainian is a Cyrillic, has a Cyrillic alphabet, but like as we're saying it phonetically, it means new star.
Nova, I should have figured that. Nova means new. Okay, Zora, didn't know, but thank you for that. Now I learned a little Ukrainian, and I can like kick it at the club one day and Nova Zora and see if that sounds like it. See if it gets me a free drink with somebody.
Yeah, that may be like a name of a gang somewhere, so better watch out.
Yeah, and then I get it abducted. I'm gonna blame you. Roman? I forget his last name. They're like, yeah, that guy. See, tangents. I gotta stop that. So listen, I gotta ask this question. With all that you do, how do you want to leave your mark on the world? This digital gangster by day, godfather of all these babies by night. Like, how do you want to leave your mark?
Yeah, so like in terms of kind of like my mindset, I think in my 20s I was more like, trying to get as far as possible, chasing like big clients and things of that nature. And then when I turned 30, it was more about like a legacy, like a heart-led entrepreneur. So really adding as much value and just being of service. And when I made that mindset shift, a lot more opportunities came to me, a lot more clients when I started kind of giving without really asking or expecting anything in return, especially doing a lot of pro bono stuff for nonprofits and things of that nature. But then they're like, all right, you did an awesome job. Well, we know other companies and other people on our board that are in other companies that, have significant marketing budgets. So I just feel like just, being an authentic person, and I think being authentic and being real in 2021 still goes a long way, and you don't have to be fake, phony, or project like someone you want to be. Because on like if you go to social media, everybody's projecting who they want to be or who they want to be in like 5-10 years. Not everyone, but a lot of the time it's also a highlight reel of your life. So I think just someone that's authentic, that gave more than he, and didn't expect anything from others, and, made his situation a better place. And hopefully the children that were, in my home were impacted in one way or another. So when they get to some kind of, pivotal fork in the road, they can think back and maybe take the right path. And then, 10, 20, 30 years, I can see them there, a senator or changing the world, like, in politics or advocacy or a nonprofit or, whatever they're trying to do.
Do you ever stay in touch with any of them or try to? Because I know there's kind of sometimes that's just not appropriate, but you able to?
We try. We always try what's called, you probably know, like bridge the gap and be a resource when they're reunified. But, some biological parents, their situation doesn't change and they may be removed again or they move. Or a lot of the time, like, it's understandable. Sometimes when people do get their life together, they want to forget that year. You know what I mean? They don't want to have ties to remind them of, maybe why they lost their children or a part of their life. So some people just say like, oh yeah, we're going to be, in contact. You can talk and see the kids, and they just kind of ghost you. So, but seeing it from their perspective, certain situations, I understand, like, that mindset.
Yeah, it's because it's an embarrassment too. That's the other thing. Like they don't want to kind of relive that part of their life. But yeah, always leaving that door open. I think that's probably the biggest thing that any of us do when we take these kids in, knowing that they at least have one person they can go back to if something should get, even just to talk to. And I think that's important. I think everybody in the world needs that, but just knowing that that you're there for them and making sure that they know that is awesome. I think that's a hell of a mark to leave on the world, just that in someone's mind. So we're going to wrap this up because I know you got something important to go do. You got a dad joke for me? Because that's what this show's about. And if you don't, I got something for you in your your private chat, because sometimes I forget to tell people and it's like, I don't have anything ready. How about it? Got anything? Should always have one.
Yeah, I'm going to use one of yours because it's funny, because my wife's family is from Hawaii. So I got the opportunity 2 years ago to go to a family reunion where I met a lot of them. Her grandfather lives on the north shore of Oahu, which is a great place to live. So yeah, I'm gonna do the one that you suggested. So
have at it, brother.
All right. Do they allow loud laughing in Hawaii, or just aloha? I gotta use that.
They gotta get that. They gotta hear that over. They're like, wait a minute. Oh, aloha. Yeah. That's the kind that makes your teenager groan, but the older people are like, yeah, that was good. That was nice and tight. But yeah. So I appreciate you, brother. I'm glad I got to meet you. I forgot which clubhouse room it was. Probably it's some kind of dad thing, but
yeah, like dad entrepreneurs, I think.
Yeah, we got the whole dad army going there. Matt's always doing rooms, and I forgot some of the other guys' names, but there's like a core of 5 guys always kind of like starring rooms, and I wish I could be more I don't want to say intentional, regular with it, but I just have to get in there when I can get in there. If I'm being, and I tell them, if I'm being honest, I gotta be congruent. If I say I'm trying to be with my kids, it's like, okay, if I'm doing shows, and if I'm always on Clubhouse, and if I'm like busy all the time, it's like, when am I with them? So I'm like, if I go on, I'm like, I'm here an hour, and then I'm kicking off, and then you guys can keep it going. But like, that's the time I put it in. And Yeah, I like it, but again, trying to be congruent with what I'm saying I'm doing. So but that's it. But listen, appreciate you, brother. Um, blessings and prayers for what you got going on in your life. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, just let me know. You know how to get me.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Appreciate that. All right, so let me do that. Yeah, I got to get used to my own my own show, man. There you go. So that's it. This is show number 10. One in the books. We got this done. Appreciate everybody that's been tuning in so far. And I kind of wanted to leave you guys with this. We talk about masterminds. We talk about a lot of things. Um, if you guys ever, this is my plea now. If you guys ever want to talk about the adoption process, the foster process, as you can see, that's where my heart is. That's where a lot of these guys that I bring on the show are all, they're all dads, but some of them foster dads and adoptive dads, just like me. So if you ever need that as any of us as sort of a resource, reach out to me any way you can. We do clubhouse rooms on this where, different times of the day we have these dad groups. And I definitely like, for somebody out there who's kind of wondering on how they could, get some support around that or ask some questions about that, get you in a clubhouse room. We can have a personal talk, whatever you need. That always consider me a resource. That's something I just want to make sure that above all else, you remember me for. Business aside, that is where my heart is. So just want to leave you guys with that this week. Appreciate you guys tuning in, whoever has or whoever's watching this later on. I love you for staying to the end and watching this. That's it for me this week. Like I always say, take care, comb your hair, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.